ring. I look at the phone, I look at Julie, Julie looks at the phone, Julie looks at me and she says, don't answer it. But it's 10:30 and the phone's ringing. And the phone never rings, so I answer the phone, and that's when I suppose at this point the sensible thing to do would be to set the scene, explain a few parameters, explain where it is that I am and why it is the phone never rings. I work in an office doing something inconsequential, a computer, a keyboard, a little creativity, a little craft, a lot of meetings about things that don't really warrant a lot of meetings. I produce direct marketing, letters that on the whole don't get read, emails that on the whole don't get opened. It pays the bills, it passes the time, it gets me out of bed in the morning. Our company strapline is be smart, be creative, be kind, which is nice. And we are apparently driven by data, which is also nice. I sit on a pod, and I don't even know if that's the right word, I sit on a pod of 4 desks. On my side, there's me and Julie. Across from us, behind the Berlin Wall of our Apple Macs, there's 6 Degrees Simon and the Finch. 6 Degrees Simon is called 6 Degrees Simon because at least once a day, he will return from the water cooler holding a plastic cup of water aloft and declare its temperature. And on one memorable occasion, he returned to us, much like Neville Chamberlain getting off that plane, raised his trophy high for us to see and said, 6 degrees. Then after a pause, he added, I've had better. And all of us being me, Julie and the Finch, thought to ourselves, when, Simon, when have you had better? Not that we voice such doubts, because not voicing such doubts is just one of those unspoken but understood ways that we all get through the day. Of course, the other way would be to attack him unmercifully on his dubious proclamation, but on this occasion we did not do that. Now, it would be remiss of me to mention 6 Degrees Simon and his water cooler fixation without drawing attention to the one thing that he despises in the world above all else. Yes, Hitler was bad. Yes, Aliens is an abomination of a movie compared to the genius of Alien. But those people in the office who go to the water cooler and fill up whole litre water bottles, causing the temperature of the water left in the water cooler to rise to what may as well be boiling point, well, they are total bastards. Except he doesn't use the word bastards. The Finch is called the Finch because his surname is Finch, and sometimes it really is as simple as that. Also, he is on occasion given, for reasons only he really understands, to interject into our daily discourse an imitation of the plaintive cry of the elusive and endangered Nantucket finch. The cry, for those of you who have never heard it, goes something like this. According to Sir David Attenborough, that plaintive cry is in fact a mating call, which may explain why the Nantucket finch is endangered. I mean, it's not exactly Joey Tribbiani's "How you doing?" Of course, my attempt at the plaintive cry of the Nantucket finch has none of the shadings, none of the subtleties that my colleague, the Finch, manages to invest it with. But on this score, he is an artiste and I'm a mere artisan. The Finch is also a master of sharing funny clips he's found on the YouTube. And in the current paradigm of office life, sharing funny clips that you have found on the YouTube is one of the highest of callings. I mean, there you are, day after day, sitting at your desk, staring at your screen, bored out of your brain, and some blessed missionary of mirth sends you a email with the simple message, you've got to watch this. And you do watch this, and you laugh, or you OMG it, or you get bored with it because the bloody thing has been running for 17 seconds and nothing seems to be happening. But the important thing is, you're not working. You're at work, at your desk, staring at your screen, getting paid, but you are not working. You are sticking it to the man. What's not to love about that? And what's not to love about the person who dug the tunnel and briefly busted you out of the interminable internment camp of your working day? Ladies and gentlemen, I give you the Finch. Now, admittedly, there is another aspect of the sharing of a funny clip you found on the YouTube that I've never quite got my head around, and it's this. And I address it to you, Mr. Finch. just because you shared the clip doesn't mean you created it. So don't build your part up like you're just the delivery boy. You didn't actually write the newspaper. Of course, I realise that these two views are somewhat divergent. On the one hand, I eulogise the Finch. On the other hand, I, well, un-eulogise him. But then again, I'm not a politician having to hold true to his or her manifesto pledges. I'm a bloke in an office trying to get through the day as best I can. And sometimes, consistency-wise, you've got to cut yourself a little slack. Julie is called Julie because her name is Julie. And in many ways, she's the best of all of us. And in many other ways, she's not. Off late, we've taken to calling her, while affecting the fake Mexican accents of a dodgy 1960s Western, we've taken to calling her Croissantita. This is primarily because the other day she was eating a croissant. And something as insignificant as that is often all that it takes for the People's Republic of Banter to wave you through its border controls with the smiling greeting of enjoy your stay. And we did always enjoy our stay. The banter would bounce around the four of us like a tennis ball at the doubles final at Wimbledon. Serve, return, volley, lob to the back of the court, and a mad scramble back to somehow keep the ball in play. Another lob, but not high enough, and the glorious smash wins the point, and everyone's laughing. Time that smash just right. Time that smash just when Julie has taken a mouthful of Earl Grey tea, and there is the chance that the eruption of laughter will be so uncontrollable that Earl Grey tea and Apple Mac will encounter each other in a way that Earl Grey tea and Apple Mac were never meant to encounter each other. Such moments are what we live for as we stare at our screens, toiling at the digital coalface. Banter keeps us sane, banter keeps us mad, banter keeps us, us. Not long ago, 6 Degrees Simon was regaling us all with the ongoing saga of some building work he was having done to his home. He was, and I maybe misremember this, he was having a helipad built on the roof. Or maybe it was a loft extension, one or the other, probably the loft extension. Anyway, what was concerning him at this particular juncture, and he is a man much given to concerns, it was the issue of scaffolding vis-a-vis his neighbour's front path. He was worried that if the scaffolding touched down on said path, without him having talked to said neighbours about it, he would be, and at this point he hesitated as to the correct phrase. And it was at this point that Julie chipped in with the suggestion, taking the monkey? Simon carried on with his dilemma, and the discussion proceeded for the next 10 minutes. When it had finished and some sort of satisfactory conclusion on the etiquette of scaffolding had been reached, I seized my chance. Well, I'm glad that's sorted out, but if I could just rewind the conversation, Julie? Taking the monkey? Do you want to talk me through that? Julie's face fell. She thought she'd got away with it. She thought no one had noticed her verbal faux pas. She thought that she'd dodged the ridicule that such a faux pas up so richly deserved. Julie, darling, get a grip. I'm not an amateur, I have done this before. By the time I'd finished, taking the monkey was a phrase that had been tattooed on the inner thigh of her psyche. But to return to my original point, it was 10:30 and the phone was ringing, and the phone never rings. The phone never rings because they don't, do they? Not anymore. They sit on our desk, almost a relic of a bygone era, an old way of working. When I first arrived in an office environment, way back when the only thing digital on your desk would be your fingers, the phone was how we communicated. We used the phone, or, and this just shows how long ago it all was, we used to get up from our desks and walk over to the people we wanted to talk to. I know, how Antiques Roadshow is that? We used to get up from our desks, we used to go out of our offices. Oh yes, we had offices, individual offices, none of this open plan nonsense. We used to go out of our offices and go over to their office and indulge in that old-fashioned version of FaceTime where you actually talk to someone face to face. Amazingly, for such a low-tech version of communication, it worked and we managed to get things done. Nowadays, of course, we're much more advanced, and the primary means of internal office communication is via the screen, and even that is evolving. We used to email each other, now we ping each other messages, and don't even get me started on track changes. Anyway, the phone is ringing, and the phone never rings. And I'm looking at the ringing phone, and Julie is telling me not to answer it, but I answer it. Hi Rohan, this is insert name here. Could you come up to Waterloo? Waterloo is the name of the meeting room on the 4th floor. It's also the title of ABBA's triumphant song, 1973 Eurovision Song Contest. And it's the place in Belgium where the Emperor Napoleon so spectacularly lost the farm. Something tells me that I'm not heading up into an ABBA moment. It's a strange walk you make in these circumstances when you get up from your desk and head towards what's to come. On the face of it, the walk is no different to the one you have made 1,000 times before, past the kitchen area where Warren is joking and making himself a coffee, past the big desk at which everyone stands to conduct meetings, past the printer where Oz impatiently waits for the infuriating machine to start actually printing, past the bookshelf stacked with miscellaneous detritus washed up over the course of the year. It's the same walk, but you know that this walk is different. By rights, I should have climbed the stairs to the 4th floor. I mean, isn't that the traditional way to mount the scaffold? But I took the lift, it was quicker. I enter Waterloo and find, insert name here, the executive head of my department waiting, along with a senior woman from HR. In my 2.5 years at the company, insert name here, hasn't often spoken to me, and in my 2.5 years at the company, I had never even seen this senior woman from HR. They asked me to sit down. Insert name here barely looks at me while he says, this is a difficult conversation to have, so I'd just like to read the following out to you. And he looks down at the piece of paper in front of him and starts to read. It was about half a page long, and I can't remember exactly what it said, but the gist of it was that a business decision had been made to cut the number of people doing my particular job from 5 to 4, and after a fair and objective process of assessment, it had unfortunately been decided that I was the one to be made redundant. Obviously, it was all couched in carefully phrased, legally approved language designed to convey the information in as sympathetic a manner as possible. But what I heard was, "You're shit, no one likes you, fuck off." That's the thing about rejection. That's the thing about rejection. It always feels like rejection. It's a visceral thing, it's a personal thing, it's a thing that hurts, and there's no way around that particular reality. You have been judged and have been found wanting, and as a result of this lack of whatever it is that you lack, as a result of having been found wanting, you are no longer wanted. Of course, you can question the judgment, you can reject the rejection, but at the time that it happens, I felt something far less assertive. I felt small, I felt alone, and I felt hurt. It hurts when someone tells you they don't want you anymore. In the playground, when the mate who was your best friend at morning break turns their back on you at lunchtime. In a relationship, when the person you've started to plan a future with tells you it's not you, it's me. In a job, when a dick-brained, useless twat of a boss tells you he's having to let you go. It hurts. And I was shocked. It was prior to the 10:30 phone call, a turn of events that was completely out of the blue. Only the week before, I had attended a meeting for the 40+ people who worked on the account that I worked on, where we were told, young Mr. Gray style, that we were all doing very well. The year's income targets had been met and exceeded, and next year we'd be heading into an even bigger workload. Which wasn't to say that working on the account was easy. I mean, are any accounts easy to work on these days? But despite the euphemistically described challenges, we were indeed doing very well. So the big meeting, held off-site in a large room above a pub a short walk from the office, was a way of saying thank you to the team. And as late afternoon turned into early evening, the well-lubricated camaraderie created by someone leaving their company credit card behind the bar held increasing sway, and by the end of the evening, sway was a particularly well-chosen word. The team was doing well, and I was part of the team. I explained all this as best I could to the 2 people in Waterloo. I say as best I could because it's difficult to be completely coherent or lucid when you suddenly find yourself, Alice-like, falling down a rabbit hole. My explanation cut no ice, so I tried a different tack. Is anyone unhappy with the work I do, or is anyone unhappy with me? No. So let me get this straight. I work on the biggest, most important account in the agency, an account that last year exceeded its financial